Patricia, thanks so much for taking some time to hang with me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
Yeah. Okay. So I know nothing about Feng Shui at all, other than I'm not supposed to put something certain places. And I bet I'm breaking all the rules because I have a lot of reclaimed items, let's just say, in my home. A lot of things that are, kind of like reduce, reuse, recycle. Like I have them from all over the place. Maybe even some dead animals in my house that I have, AKA taxidermy. That's just for fun, So I'm sure I'm breaking some rules. So give me the education. What is Feng Shui? Where did it come from? How did you get interested in it?
Okay, so first of all, don't worry. If you think you're breaking the rules, you're probably not. And there's a lot of scope in Feng Shui and many, many layers to it. So even the taxidermy, I let my clients away with it. If it's something you love, it's okay. So Feng Shui is a 5,000-year-old practice that originates in China. And it was brought to the West in the 70s and 80s. Sorry, there's my puppy.
That's not a dead animal. That's an alive animal.
That is an alive animal. Toby is having a little bit of chat there. So Feng Shui was brought from the East to the West in around the 70s and 80s. Now it is a very, very, very powerful practice that is used in many, many, many different instances in terms of bringing a house or building into balance for money and health. So when you translate the words Feng Shui, it actually translates into good health and good harvest. It's an ancient practice. So harvest is like you reap what you sow. So it's all about abundance. What I love bringing in is the fact that, every Whole Foods across America has been Feng Shui'd. So many huge global corporations use Feng Shui. Disney, Intel, all these huge big brands use Feng Shui in their buildings to support their clients, to support their employees, to support their profits and their income. And that's when it kind of goes, people go, oh, what? These 400 or 500 companies are using Feng Shui. I want a bit of this. And for me, I'm all about bringing this technique back into the homes and lives of everyday people, because it is an untapped resource that we have. We're all in a time of like growth orientation. We want expansion. We want to look at how we could be limiting or blocking ourselves from more, profits, better clients, just more freedom, more space, and more opportunities. And I see this as kind of the missing piece of the jigsaw that a lot of people overlook when it comes to our, growth in our lives and businesses, because our physical environment is impacting our bank account and our health every single day, whether we like it or not. And it can be impacting it positively or negatively. So I like to describe Feng Shui as acupuncture for your home. So it's all about getting this energy moving fluidly and easily through your home. And when you said about having things that are reclaimed or taxidermy, that's like really surface level Feng Shui at best. And, there's nothing wrong with it. I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about the practice. Now, what I see when I'm working with my clients is that they tap into more flow, more abundance, more money, more of the good things. And that's what we really want. And they do have like dead animals in their homes, and they do have reclaimed furniture. So you can just kind of go, oh, that's okay, I'm fine with that. And a lot of the things that we've heard about Feng Shui, you may be like, oh, I'm doomed because of this one thing. And I'm always like, do you know what? There's so many other things that we can look at and address in your home that can be positive, that can create a positive impact.
Okay. All right. I'm on board. Like, I'm interested. I'm very interested. Great. Yeah. Let's do this. Okay. So how did you personally become interested and passionate about it? I mean, you are just fired up about this. I love it.
I know. Yeah. So I actually got my first books about it when I was 15, and I started implementing it immediately around in my bedroom. And my parents are like not into any of this at all. Like they were actually total entrepreneurs. They had their own businesses. And when I was about 18, I actually hired a Feng Shui consultant to come and consult on their business. Like this is how I was like, this is super important. And it was so fascinating when she came and did the analysis of their business. And their business was doing pretty well already, which was always great. But when she left, I was really like still jizzed up about this. And then, I got caught into the traditional lane. Went to university, I studied business and marketing and really thought I wanted a normal job because my parents were entrepreneurs and I was like, no, I want a 9 to 5 and be normal. That didn't last for very long, like literally a couple of years, when I ended up back in the family business. And once I was in the family business, we actually ended up in a business that was amazing for me in terms of like growth and experience, but it just wasn't my soul's passion. And you've just said like, you're so fired up about Feng Shui. Like, honestly, this gets me like so fired up. And everybody, you want to be doing something that you love and that makes a difference. And that wasn't. So I finally quit everything and headed to India to become a yoga teacher. And while I was there, I trained in lots of different practices. I reconnected with Feng Shui again. And I moved to a new city when I came back to Ireland. And once I moved in, I said, I'm going to Feng Shui this place for love. So I did all of the Feng Shui that was in my old books that were still back at my parents' house, and did the Feng Shui for love. And then all of a sudden I had all these women after I'd met my now husband saying, how did you meet Ken? What did you do? And I was like, I did this. And then I started going, oh, I can do this for love. Oh, what about the money part? Because I had just started my business. And as I started implementing it in our house, we had moved in together. We actually had a 6-figure windfall, like out of nowhere. And this is not like, this was a very unexpected. So when things like that happen, like you're like, what is this? And that is literally, my business started to grow. My husband's did. Everyone started asking me, like, what have you just done? So we dived into developing our own Feng Shui program. And that's what I've been doing now for the last 7 years. And we've helped women, men, businesses all over the world just activate a resource that you have. I think this is the thing about Feng Shui. It's not something that we have to do outside of that's kind of external. Like it's basically the 4 walls that we're living in. We all have a roof over our heads. It's either supporting us or not. And there's nothing structural changes that need to be made with Feng Shui that I teach. So I think this is a really big thing for people to realize, like your house, if your kitchen is not in the bad place, your bathroom is fine where it is, like the positioning of most of the furniture is actually okay. Like 99% of the times, the bed will only go in one place. Like it'll only make sense in one place. So I like to bring like really pragmatic, practical wisdom into this and be like, we're all about the energy of the place. And sometimes that's the invisible as well as the visible when it comes to the Feng Shui.
So when I was a kid, like young, I would actually move my bedroom around all the time because I would actually take a piece of paper and I would I would pre-plan like the layout of my room. And like, even I had more the mindset of how can I make it be the most efficient, like use of the space or the most creative or something. And so I'd literally move my room around once a month. My parents would come in and they'd be like, oh my goodness, stuff moved around already again. That changed when I got a waterbed and couldn't move much around anymore because the waterbed wouldn't move. But I love it. I actually am the one who decorates our home. I'm actually the one who does my wife doesn't touch anything, primarily because I won't let her. But I'm like, no. I got the plan. I got everything, So I'm very fascinated by this. You got me excited. All right. So take me through maybe some uniquenesses, like how your approach to Feng Shui is unique, because I'm hearing that there are a lot of different approaches.
Yeah.
And so maybe actually before you go to how you're unique, maybe just some basic principles, because there's got to be some basic principles that are true for all the people that teach this.
Yeah, for sure. And even, so basically just kind of putting this into context, like Feng Shui is like an iceberg, and what we'll read or Google or see online is kind of the tip of the iceberg, what's the visible, and what's below the energy is really what I like to focus on with my clients. But what we can talk about is like what's the visible, like literally what is visible in your home. And some of the common principles of Feng Shui is that it is actually based on 5-element theory. So it's very closely linked to Feng Shui, to acupuncture, to Qigong. And, you know, acupuncture and Qigong and Tai Chi have become so mainstream now. And it's really about making sure that your body is healthy and well and everything is moving. So the same philosophy is like disharmony creates dis-ease. Like, so we want to make sure that there's a really positive flow in your home. And all Feng Shui will look at the energy coming into your home and the qi. Now, there are different schools of Feng Shui. And there's the school of Feng Shui that's quite like, you know, as you say, there's different types of restaurants. So there's restaurants that are like fast food, McDonald's. Here's the quick fix, do this. Here's your burger in 2 minutes, you know, versus like the beautiful, like organic meal or, you know, a 5-star Michelin restaurant. And that's very bespoke and customized. So, and there's everything kind of in between. The school that I practice is that every single home is unique and bespoke, and it all has its own personal kind of date of birth, as we say in, as we kind of talk about in Feng Shui, that has its own energy. But then there's like common principles that will move through every house, whatever date of birth it is. So just like a person, we'll all have our own personality and imprint and energy. But like I wouldn't expect my acupuncturist to give me fashion advice, you know, so I don't give like interior design advice. And that can be one of the things. It's like, oh, so you're going to tell me like where to put this painting or where I'm going to put the couch. And I'm like, yeah, kind of like I can give some advice on it. But most of the time I'm about making sure that, that your house feels good, that you feel good in it, and that that things are flowing. And this is a big part, is that when people come to me and there's something not quite right, like somebody's hitting a plateau. Either you're hitting a plateau and you're like, things are going good, but there's something else in my business that needs looking at, my career, my business, my career, my health, and my relationship, my finances, and they're kind of hitting some kind of like roadblock with it. And that's where I'll look at their house and be like, well, actually it's because of this, and this is how you fix it. So the overarching things, and one of the things that I like to say is my idea with Feng Shui, my personal way of doing it and looking at it is that, like, you know, I like to see it as this missing piece of the jigsaw when it comes to really creating a life and business that you love. Because we can do lots of the mindset work. We can do the actual action, tangible actions with whatever you have to do your work, to do your job, to call your clients, whatever that is. We can do the internal work, like figure out like, what are my traumas? What are my blocks? And, you know, this is what I think being an entrepreneur and being business is about, is like personal growth. And we're always going to be up against something, learning and growing. But what we want to do is make sure that there's not something external that's actually impacting it. And when we look at the house, oftentimes it does reflect back to where you're not growing or soaring. So I bring all of that into my work with my clients, because I ask them to look at every part of their life and scale it and rate it and say, well, where are you? What do you need to do internally? What to do with your mindset? Like, we keep that part. It's not like, oh no, that's all a waste of time. It's like, this is all part of it. And where do you want to go? So I like to help people create a home that mirrors where they are growing. Oftentimes houses are like kind of stuck in the past and are connected with so much, you know, memories. Don't get me wrong, I love keeping some memorabilia in my house, but it's about like progress and growth and movement. And that's a really big one for me.
You're incredible at articulating this. Yeah, you're just really good. Like, I'm fired up. I'm in on this.
Okay.
And so, all right, so use me an example here for a minute. All right, so I come to you and I go, all right, I want to grow my business. I help primarily like soul-inspired female entrepreneurs, you know, start their coaching or entrepreneur business online. I want to grow my business. I've been married 27 years. I got, you know, I know that's hard to believe based on the fact that
I'm like 27 years.
But because I look 27, you know, my daughter's 22, my son's 18. Like, I'm here in Southern California. Like, what would be the first place that you would tell me you need to first, like, let's talk about this first. Like, what's the first area of my home or life that you would want me to kind of look at?
Well, the first thing you told me was about your business. So the first thing I would say, well, let's look at your office. I would look at your office, and I can actually see your office here behind me. So I'm just like, tell me about your office.
I love this. And I did a video about this not too long ago on TikTok or Reels. So I live in basically a 1,000 square foot home in Southern California that was built in the 50s, I think. It is worth $1 million. I know. 1,000 square feet. Yeah. So right now I am literally in our 2-car garage.
Okay.
I am inside of our 2-car garage. And so this reclaimed wood is actually just old fence boards that I attached to the side of the garage. And this is an actual couch. People sometimes ask me, is that a Zoom background? I'm like, no, it's actual. I hang out there and live there. Yeah. Because our home is so small, Patricia, literally to the right of my desk here is a kind of like a clothing rack that you would have like at a photo shoot. You know what I mean? Like all my clothes are right here. 100 pair of shoes are right there. All my shoes. Washer and dryer is over there.
Okay.
Yeah. The other half of the couch is there. Garage doors here. Studio lights are around. And, what you don't see outside of the picture is, there's a lot of stuff, laundry and just like the weed whackers over there. I don't know if you call it a weed whacker in Ireland.
I think we do.
Yeah. There's furniture that my grandfather made in this room. My grandfather, after 30 years in the U.S. Navy, he became a woodworker. So like over there is a oak roll top desk handmade by my grandfather that was really popular in the 80s, right? Oak in the United States. I don't know if you know the fashion trends of, the United States, but oak was big. Oak bookcase over there, oak bread box, oak, like all this stuff that I don't want to have in my house because it's not cool. It's not like, but what am I going to get rid of? This giant, amazing handmade heirloom? Okay.
Tricky.
And then behind this black curtain is a bunch of like memorabilia stuff from, back in the day, plus camping supplies. Boom. There's my office.
Okay. You
seem depressed.
Great.
You seem depressed.
No, I'm not depressed at all. I'm just like, okay. This is juicy for me. So first of all, I would say to you, like for me, visually seeing how you're set up, I think it looks amazing. Like honestly, from that perspective, I'm like, well done. You have so many things ticking the boxes already in terms of like a really good, strong chair, like a really nice background that looks like supportive behind you. You've got the wall, like got a kind of a wall behind you, which is really great. And you will be surprised how many people sit in a tiny little corner with their back to the door in this like really vulnerable place where the energy is coming in, it's hitting the back of their door, they're sitting on like a little crap chair, and they're not like making their business a serious thing. Like you look like I'm the boss. Like I've got a pretty serious like workspace. Like you've created that. So that's like a high five to you. And that's really good. My next thing is just about like, those are great. Now, the next thing I would say to you about like all the other things in your space. Now, the fact that and this is where we have to get really adaptable. I have a client who runs her business in New York from her studio apartment. Like she flips over her bedroom to her living room / office at night. We have worked on that in terms of like clear boundaries. So like I understand the smaller space work. But what I would say to you, first of all, is that there's a lot of things that could create distraction for you. So you've said you have the washing machine, you've got the weed whacker, you've got all these different things that are like all over the place. I would definitely, if I was in with you as a client, like your client today, I'd be like, okay, we need to create some more boundaries. Like obviously it's good that you're not in the house, like, you've created your own space, but what other kind of little boundaries could you put a screen up that'll create more of a room for you that you're like, this is my focused workspace. All of those little other distractions unknowingly are like allowing your energy to kind of drain out a bit. Like there's the washing machine and there's the laundry and there's the things. So what I would say is that if you can, and we just have to work with what you can do. If you could you said you had a curtain, could you create that to just like make yourself a bit more like in the space that doesn't have all those distractions? I've had so many clients who have in their offices like had things like, you know, the kids' toys, all the stuff that's like totally like all these books that are not even related to their work, you know, all this that's just like you want to totally be able to walk to your office and feel like I'm here, I'm serious, and I'm committed to it. And there's no other distractions for me. So in your office space, it's a good idea to have like a picture of your family because you're like, what the hell am I doing this all for? And maybe you have like some inspirational books that support like who inspires you in business, like who are the people that you want to be, you know, around or being inspired by. And then from that, you're going, okay, well, what about my space for a vision board or your goals? Like things like that in your office are really great. Like they're just like these anchors of like, what are you here for and why are you doing this? I have another client who has like a wall of all of their clients, like all of the little client testimonials and stories. A big part of your office space is that you want to pretend that someone was going to come in and sit on the couch beside you as a client. And that's like going to shift your awareness a little bit to the space to be like, oh, someone's going to come in here. And for everyone who's listening going, oh my God, I don't want anyone ever to come and sit here with me. Like I'd be so embarrassed. You want to have a little think about like, well, how would you switch it around? Because what, you know, your office is a statement to the universe, to like how serious I'm taking this business. And the more that you kind of like forget and, you know, just make do with sitting at the dining room table on a really hard, cranky chair that's hurting your back, the more you're saying, actually, I'm comfortable in this discomfort and I'm not taking this business seriously.
Okay. I think I know you're correct. But I mean, when I walk in, I don't think I'm conscious of, wow, look at all this stuff. Maybe once in a while, but I get in the zone because I'm looking at my computer, you know, or my laptop pretty much all the day. But I still in the peripheral vision see all of these other things. So I do understand what you're saying. And I think if I envision myself walking into a box of an office with a window view, I think I would feel like, wow, this feels amazing. You know, where right now, because I do record videos and podcasts and all sorts of things, you know, oh my God, this sounds so ghetto, but it is what it is. You know, my garage door here, I have covered there's like little panel windows, you know, at the top of a garage door to allow light in. I've covered those up so that it's dark, so that no matter what day or no matter what time I'm filming in here, it'll always look the same. Because before I was having issues with the light coming in and it changing, you know, blah, blah, blah. So I hear what you're saying. Yeah. I wish I did have an office. You know, it's a 3-bedroom home and we have my wife and I and then 2 kids. And so I'm just waiting I don't want my kids to move out, but it's like, we'll just leave. I'm going to take over one of your bedrooms so fast. It's not even funny.
And I think, to be honest, I wouldn't be giving yourself a hard time. I think you've done a great job, like of what you've already created. It's a really good job. Like you've done a great job already. You know, I remember years ago in that job with my parents, I had an office in the basement. It was the dungeon, we called it. It was like a big joke. Now, this was like a big sea view property that had like all the staff, everybody had the view of the sea except me, the dungeon.
No way.
And I was meant to be the boss, like seriously, bad karma. Anyways, I went one day, I just got so fed up. I was like, how can I bring more nature into this? You know? So for example, like what I did is I went up and I took this photo of the view and was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. So you're in like SoCal, you can go and get a big picture of the beach and like have this expansive picture of somewhere that feels expansive, bringing nature in. You know, that is what I did. I had this view that everybody else saw, like just out of the beach. It was beautiful. So there's those ideas of like the artwork that you could bring in to bring a bit more nature in, to bring a bit more, you know, in my office in Ireland, I have this picture that I absolutely adore, and it's of all this forest with the light shining in and bluebells. And you never see like one bluebell on its own. It's always like a field of them. So it's that representation of abundance. And, you know, the artwork that you have in your office, in your bedroom, in your living room, everywhere in your house is really potent. Like it can be having a huge impact on your energy. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I remember years ago working with a woman on her office, and honestly, I was the first, when I first saw it, I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to say to her. Her office is like, it had like all this beautiful, you're talking about the oak furniture of your grandmother's, like this beautiful furniture. I was just like, oh my God, she had this beautiful furniture, like proper big chair, big desk. It was just amazing. Great setup. And I was like, tell me, I was like, I don't want to say. So I just looking around us, tell me that piece of art. So we looked on the piece of art and it was a picture of a winter scene. So like winter, you know, is not the time that we make loads of money. It's like introversion. It's like snow. It was a snow scene. It was very like, oh, dark. And I was like, this isn't the most uplifting picture in the world. So I was like, well, I'm not sure about winter. Like maybe you want summer, like harvest, like money, all that. And when we looked at, I was like, so tell me more about this picture. She goes, it was my ex-husband's. And I was like, okay. So this is something that didn't work out. Like it's a representative of something didn't work out. So that's a huge thing when we're looking at our office space. You know, I recently worked with a lady and we feng shuied her whole home. We were going around the house. It was beautiful. I was like, she's done everything set up, put all those remedies in that I recommend. Sorry. So please have it.
No worries.
So I walked all the way around. I saw everything. And then we finally got to her husband's office. So, you know, with this whole work from home thing, a lot of people have been forced to work from home unexpectedly. So he's this huge senior role in a giant, like global corporate finance business. And he's in the worst room set up so badly. And I was like, and she's like, he's had a terrible year of work this year and he didn't get his bonus and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, no wonder. And I was like, you've done it. She did everything. It was perfect. First thing I did was like, we've got to have a meeting with him, got to get him on board, and we've got to get his office sorted out. So I was like, so you were like, okay, one of my kids has to move out. They had a spare room. I was like, get rid of the bed. Like, she's like, oh, I was like, do you have any storage to put the bed into? She's like, we do. I was like, we need to make this space. Like, if this guy has such a huge job, he needs an office that represents this. Like, so we flipped it around. I was like, we need to get rid of the bed. Like, and the husband had been reticent because it's like, oh, this is just temporary. Like, everyone thought it was temporary. It's a year and a half later. I was like, it's not temporary. We don't know what's happening. You got it sorted. So we flipped it around. We got changed. He was on like a crappy little chair. His wife downstairs had like the best, like Eames, like really posh office chair. And she's not even working. She was just on retiring. So she's like, oh, I don't even use my chair. I was like, give him your chair, get him up into the space, set him around. And he had this piece of art that was just like all this ancient, like he's in a financial business. So he bought this art years ago that was all this money, like all this, it was just this amazing picture of a man with like money everywhere. And I was like, she's like, it's in storage. I was like, get it out of storage, put this up behind him, set this all up. By the time they tweaked everything in terms of like having his proper office set up, sitting in a proper chair with his back to the wall, piece of art up, I come on the session to be like, how are you getting on? Like, let me have a check. And he's like, I've just been offered this amazing opportunity that what I really want, like I'm coming into retirement age, the next few years, I really want to make a difference, make an impact, do something of interest, you know, I could retire today if I wanted, but actually I want to do more. And he's like, I've just got this amazing opportunity in my email. And I was like, there you go. This is like, it's just a turnaround when we look at our spaces and change just the energy of it.
So how much of this is actual spiritually impacting the flow of finances and health and relationships versus, it just makes me feel better. And because I feel better, then I end up doing better.
Oh, I love this. So the first thing is Feng Shui is like for any accountants or people who like numbers out there, they'll love this. So we actually do a detailed analysis based on the year the house is built. So you said your house is built in the 50s. I was like, oh, 50s. So I wonder what cycle that is. So it's in a specific cycle based on where it's situated and located. And we do a detailed calculation and analysis of what's going on in the energy of the house. And this changes from year to year. So there may be years in your life since you've lived in your house that you're like, God, that was a great year. Or then you're looking back and going, that was a really hard year. God, money was tight that year. Something was really tricky. And And then what we're doing with Feng Shui is we're like, we don't want people to go through those highs and lows. It's about like making sure that the space is energetically aligned. And this is kind of below the iceberg. And when we analyze someone's house, and I was just talking to a couple the other night about this, because when we first did our house, when we first trained in this, Ken and I, we had worked with our the Feng Shui master, and she turned around to us and she was like, "Did you have financial difficulties last year?" And we were like, "How did she know? Like, how did she know?" Like, my husband, the hairs went up in his arms, and that kind of creepy mode of like, for 6 months, he hadn't got paid by the company he worked for. Like, he nearly went bankrupt. Like, it was so difficult. And that was like, she said it was she was like, "Well, actually last year you went through this cycle that really inhibits finances." Probably all got sorted by March, and Ken got all paid by March. And we were like, okay. Fast forward, our very first business clients, we're in there and I'm working with them, and I was like literally able to say, "Have you had financial difficulties this year?" And she's like, "How did you know? It started on the 4th of February. She could name the date of the Chinese New Year. So, that's where, there's a lot of, making it feel good. And that's part of it, because people have like honestly taken control of their environment, got rid of all the stuff that doesn't line up with where they want to go, and, feeling a bit better, like they're making some changes. But for me, a lot of it is really, it's not that feel good. It's actually, there's some fundamental things that we do with our clients to make sure that they don't go into these like drastic situations, and they it's preventative as opposed to like, having to fix it afterwards.
What's so coincidental about this conversation, the timing of this conversation, I'd probably say maybe a month ago, I started saying to my wife and kids, I go, "I feel like I want to get rid of literally everything in our home. I just want to get rid of everything." And I love to go to estate sales, or, I just find things. I just find like things like, every single thing in our home has a story. Everything is probably not new other than couches and beds. Couches and beds, I'm like, no, we want to keep those things new.
Yeah.
So everything has a story in some way. And I utilize a lot of artwork. I have a lot of artwork that I find that's old, from different places. And I just felt like I just want to start fresh. I just want to get rid of everything. I literally told them, I think I'm going to take all, because I have a lot of things that I'll rotate through our home, because it's like I'll change it up and then a couple months later I'll just take it all out and I'll put new things on the walls and I'll put new things on the mantle and new things on. I'll move. I like a lot of, this sounds weird, but I like a lot of metal industrial furniture. So like really old, like we have lockers, at different places in our homes, stuff from like just metal stuff, old stuff, that's like cool. And it has a patina or whatever. So I'll move it around. And I said to them, I think I'm going to put everything inside of our living room and dining room and kitchen, and then stuff on the front driveway. And I'm going to have it be almost like an estate sale. People are going to come inside because it's going to be so much stuff. And they're like, "Our stuff's really good." I go, "I know." People are going to, because it's that antique retro vibe that's really popular in Southern California. So it's funny. I'm literally thinking about getting rid of almost everything. And I thought about shifting. I kind of wondered like, do I want to keep the style that we have? Like, because there are some things that I go, well, why would I get rid of that? Like, I'm looking to my right, and there's like, I've got a collection of probably 15 typewriters. I got a lot of typewriters, and like, I've got this metal unit from like a medical office that's got like the cool open bottom, and then it looks old. I don't know, maybe 50s or 60s, or probably 60s or 70s. Well, why would I get rid of that? Because if I saw another one, I would want that exact same. Like, I would want that. So, and I go, do I want to change my style? Or am I just wanting a refresh? Or I think I have too much stuff.
Oh.
I have too much stuff. And even though I like, because what happens is for a collector like myself, you collect, you find, you switch it out, then you put all the stuff in storage, somewhere, and then you move it around. I got too much stuff. I just want to get rid of this. But it does make me question whether I want a different style or not. go a bit more modern. I don't know. But this is really interesting timing. I think you're convincing me. I'm just going to get rid of all of it. Just all of it's going to be gone.
I love it. And I think that, like, for me, I remember a couple of years ago, a client in LA. I was working with her virtually, like I do all my clients, but I happened to be in LA for a conference, and she'd seen I'd come in, and she was like, "Oh, Patricia, we have like one consult left. Like, would you come to that? Like, please, like, come do in person." And I was like, "Okay, like it was a novelty for me to be in LA." So I was like, "Yeah, grand." So she picked me up. We went over to the house, and the very first call I had had with her, we just discussed, like, the apartment wasn't her dream apartment. She had moved in after her divorce, and I just said, "Look, the first thing you have to do is do these things." And the second call we got on, she's just like, "I've thrown everything out." And I was like, "What?" And I was like, "I didn't tell you to do that. Like, I would never tell anyone to throw everything out." But what she said to me, she's like, "I realized that as I was going through the work that you had given me, that everything was associated with this really sad time in my life. Not that your things are associated with sad time in your life, but it's just like that everything was associated with this other version of me that I don't want to be associated with anymore, that I want to move on from." So she's like, "I decided to just get rid of it all." She's like, "It wasn't very expensive. Like, it was just kind of like, I needed something at the time." And when I got to her apartment, she's like, "I'm going to redo it." And what was so amazing witnessing this was she was a real creative, like an amazing creative. And she allowed herself to express her creative expression around her, with her home and her furniture. And she decorated in this real beautiful kind of, the living room walked in, I was like, wow, it was this beautiful Art Deco kind of style. Like, everything was just beautifully, exquisitely designed, totally beautiful. And I said to her, I was like, "This is amazing." So one of the things that you touched on was the art, and letting go of things that don't suit where you are going. And I think this is a really important thing. It's just like, do you want to be holding on to like 15 typewriters? Like, amazing, like they're super cool and fun, but like, are they like holding me back a little bit? Are they like, is this like really aligning up for what I want? When you decide to let go of something, this is my trick with letting go of things, is that, like, I'll hold the item and be like, "Okay, I'm letting go of you and I'm welcoming in a new client. I'm letting go of you and I'm welcoming in this amount of money." Like, I have seen, and I've got my clients to literally write down a wish list of their desires, because when they made space for things, they ended up with loads of other stuff replacing it, as opposed to from what they wanted. So it's like, if you're going to do this this sale, I would sit down with your kids and your wife and be like, what are we doing? Like, where's our vision? Where are we going? What are we replacing all of this stuff with? And it can be huge amounts of money. It could be just whatever that you're like, "I'm letting this go and I'm bringing in this." Like, one lady wrote down, she wanted all the money for her shopping for Christmas holidays for kids. She wanted a washing machine. She wanted money for a new car. She wanted all this stuff, and did a declutter. So that's a really cool exercise you can do with the letting go. And the next part is, like, as you let go, it's just like, where am I going? Like, what do I want? What's my vision? And what am I making space for? Like, what am I going? Where am I going? So the artwork is humongous. And this woman in LA, like, actually brought me to tears, because when we went around her home, every part of your home represents a different part of your life. And one of the areas is like the new beginnings area. Like I said, our house was, the living room was this Art Deco theme. And on the walls was these two big paintings of aeroplanes, like those old propeller planes. And I was like, wow, these are amazing. And she said, "Yeah, this is my new beginnings area. I want to propel forward." And I was like, oh, this is it. Like, she got it. It was just so perfect. And as we went around the space, like, every area, like the piece of art basically represented her intention, her dreams, her vision. So same goes for her career area, where, oh, sorry, I don't know. Same goes for her career area. In her career area, she had this huge, beautiful picture of a black stallion. Her favorite horse, her favorite animal is this horse, the stallion. And go figure, she wanted to charge ahead in her career. So it's this, like, symbol, using the symbolism of the artwork. And, one of my favorite topics is Feng Shui and art. So, like, I love this, but it's just like, whatever you have in your walls, like what's on your walls, like, what's it saying? What does it represent about where you're going? And how is it impacting your energy?
Okay. Crazy story. And then we got to go. But
okay,
I have a one-on-one client in Beverly Hills that has a exquisite, multi-million dollar home, and she's starting a more of a health business, and she wants that to replace her real estate business. And she had a home that she'd been trying to sell for 3 years that was just roadblock. When I came into her life, she said, I don't have a place in my home to work because my office is just an absolute disaster. And so I went to it was a disaster. There's just paperwork everywhere. I mean, it was just, a lot of people, when people come into our home, they're like, do you live here? Like, there's not a lot of clutter. I'm like, yeah. And I go to other people's homes. Clutter is a huge issue for a lot of people. This office was full of clutter. I spent an entire day with her decluttering it. She bought a new sofa. We rearranged. We got chairs from other parts of her house. We dialed in the entire office. I had never even thought of this, but she sold that home, the home that she'd been trying to sell for 3 years, for $30 million within a few months. Like just a few months after dialing in her own office. So, I don't want to take credit for that, but
but it totally contributed. Oh my God. Like, it's just amazing. And when you start sorting out your space, it really has a huge impact, like, on your life and your business and your bank account. Amazing.
Okay. PatriciaLohan.com. You've got a podcast, of course. Before we jump into that, though, you've got a bunch of free resources that I want to draw people's attention to. So PatriciaLohan.com/office. And what is this resource? Feng Shui for the office. Discover how my clients are using Feng Shui to optimize their office, desk, or workspace without the stress, confusion, or crazy overwhelm, and how they leverage this powerful resource, even if working from their kitchen table, bedroom, or shed. That's a title.
Yes, it's a pretty long title. Feng Shui your office. Go to patricialohan.com/office. You can come and follow me on Instagram, see my adventures here in Greece, or and see loads of pictures of my puppy. Or you can join me on my podcast, the Live Your Dreams Awake podcast. But mostly, if you want to get started, focus on the space that you're more interested in. So if it's your office, go there. And if you're interested in calling in more money, go to patricialohan.com/money.
And the Live Your Dreams Awake podcast, tell us what that's all about.
So the first thing you asked me was like, where was I? And I'm like, well, I'm in Greece right now, but I live between Ireland and now soon Italy and Greece and Bali. And I'm just all about living your dreams awake. One of my very favorite quote is, our truest life is when we are in our dreams awake. It's a Henry David Thoreau quote. And I think that we're not alive to wait for our retirement. We're alive right now. We're here to live and enjoy it right now. And living your dreams awake is just myself and my husband, our philosophy. And I embody it. Hopefully I inspire people to do it using Feng Shui. And then, I interview people who I think are doing it too. Very fun. Patricia, what a delight it's been to connect with you. You are doing great things in the world. So thanks for sharing with us today. Thanks a million. It's been amazing.